Joe, there you go.
There we go. Cool.
So we got Charles, Miles, and
Look
Matt
at
in
that. We all got
here.
flannel.
Yeah, we live in the frozen Arctic up here in Wisconsin. So,
Oh, me too, man. I live in New York, upstate New York, and we
oh
get lake
yeah.
effect. It's
Oh yeah.
horrible.
I've driven through that a few times. I'm not a fan. All right. So for everybody that's kind of new, I guess we're trying to kind of put a little structure to this, so it's not just a bunch of incoherent rambling, I guess. Um, the whole idea is to try to, figure out strategies and goals for all of us to kind of grow, our businesses, whether you're a freelancer, an agency, or work for an agency, whatever it is. You know, improving processes, tightening up marketing, SOWs, contracts, all that good junk. Um, so really the way I think we want to structure this is kind of every week to say, hey, here's kind of our main pain points. Here's the goals I want to kind of achieve here, and kind of try to come up with some sort of a loose strategy for the next week. And next week when we meet again, just kind of see, did you follow through? Um, any success, and kind of re-strategize, kind of do that iteration every week sort of idea. I think we've got a good mix now because I run Code Monkeys, which is mostly development. We do some design, very little marketing, really heavy on the development side. Joe is more on the design and marketing side, and then Jarek, Joe, he was just kind of filling me in on what he does. He works for a pretty large agency um,
Okay.
that kind of runs the gambit. He himself is focused on the marketing. And I know going back to last week, Joe's main thing was maybe figuring out some strategies for some content marketing, and niching down a little bit, so you're not just kind of shotgunning out to everybody. So, I think Jarek, you might be able to help Joe quite a bit on that goal. But since Jarek's new, I guess let's start with you, man. I guess what do you want to work on?
Well, I guess my goals and the reason I joined the group um, is ultimately I want to go back to being an entrepreneur and doing this stuff for myself. Um, the clients that we service at the agency that I work at are all pretty much enterprise level. So I don't know that the businesses that I would start would focus on that persona, but um, yeah, just looking for to hear how you guys do it, how you broke into it, how you transitioned if you were working for somebody else, how you jumped into running your own thing, and then yeah, I'm happy to share everything that we've learned through the years doing this for our clients.
Well, basically, we're all just sadomasochists that want to run our own
Right.
companies and businesses. So, um, I guess I'll just hit that real quick. First is I started doing this stuff, I guess, real briefly in college. I got introduced to programming for Visual Basic way back in like 1998. I ended up going into insurance. I started an insurance agency and started in the late 90s, really early 2000s, kind of niched into the major medical market. Started really seeing that online was a place to be. I was probably one of the first agencies to really kind of focus on online for health insurance. Built my own forms, my own quoting engines. Got pretty handy at the SEO side. Had a pretty good turnkey business up till about 2008. And they pulled the carpet out from under me, and about overnight, my business was worthless. So I thought, screw this insurance stuff. I'm kind of handy at this website crap, and I ended up taking a lead developer gig for a startup. I did that for a few years. Moved up here to St. Paul, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Twin City area, and then got kind of fed up with that and just decided to start my own agency. And so that's kind of where we're at. We started that beginning 2014. I got sidetracked a couple times doing startups. I think I have an addiction to startups. I probably should stop, but that's how I got here. Joe, how about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was kind of similar to you. I had a few agency jobs. I was, either web developer or digital strategist. Or I jumped around in those positions, and I did those for a number of years, and then I started freelancing part time, and that kind of blossomed. And like over the course of probably a year, I worked less, and my job. I switched to a part time position at the agency, and then I was doing more freelance work, and eventually I was full time freelancing. And and as I started to get more and more work in, and started to reach out and like figure out, okay, well, how can I bring work in, whether it be networking or like getting myself in front of people. Um, I started getting more than I can handle, and I started working with some freelancers. Um, and that became like a thing where I was doing that for a number of clients, and I thought, this shouldn't be Joseph Roberts Designs anymore. Why don't I bring this as an agency? Um, I'm still in the phase of a virtual team, so I don't have. So I'm still working with a lot of freelancers doing that. Some of them are local, but most of them are over the web. But yeah, I guess that's how I got to where I am.
I think we got another newcomer here. Is that Matt up in the top left here?
There we go. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, now we can.
Hey, look at that. Great. Yeah, sorry, this is my first time, so I don't know. I joined the group a while ago and I saw the notification, so I thought I'd hop in. So, hi.
Hey,
I'm Matt. I'm maybe a little different than you guys. So I live in the Bay Area. I live in Berkeley, and I'm a startup guy. I founded a company in 2010 called GigWalk with two folks. We took that through 3 rounds of venture capital funding. I think we raised $19.5 million over 3 rounds. That company's
Nice.
now profitable and is into its, gosh, we're in the 7th year now. And so, sorry, it's a little bit, my video is a little bit nutty.
So you were a co-founder, Matt?
Yeah, myself and 2 guys. So I was at AOL for 5 years from 2010 to 2000. And sorry, so let me go back. I moved out. So I come from Michigan, Kalamazoo. I moved out to California to work for AOL in 2000 to 2005, and I was at Yahoo from 2005 to 2010.
I interviewed with those guys a few years ago. I feel sorry for you.
For who? For Yahoo or for AOL?
Yeah, who?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, this was back in 2005 to 2010. So
Yeah.
those
Not so bad then.
sort of the good years back then. Yeah. But then, yeah, so I started GigWalk with a couple of folks, friends of mine from the Yahoo days, and so we started that in 2010. Took that through, like I said, so now that's going strong. I'm starting a new company now called API Canary, which is a serverless production testing platform, and we just closed our Series pre-seed funding yesterday. And so we're just kind of getting off the ground with that. So it's sort of my second startup while GigWalk is continuing to go.
So you've got that startup addiction too. It's just you're good at it.
Well, I'm just in a good spot for it, I guess. This is if you want to get venture capital funding, living in the Bay Area is kind of the way to do it.
Yeah, Menlo Park, not too far away, huh?
Yeah. Oh, are you in Menlo Park now, or?
No. I just know that's where you got to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. So anyway, so that's my deal, and so we've got this new venture API Canary that's just getting off the ground, and that's what we're up to.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Now we got a startup guy here that actually gets funded. Kind of rounds the whole thing out. That's cool. It's really cool. So I guess let's throw it to you then, Matt. I guess what do you want to work on? What's your goals? What do you want to focus on? Where's your pain points? What do you want to do?
Oh, sure. Well, so I've been hardcore. So I'm just getting out of fundraising mode because we just signed docs yesterday. So right now I've got about 4 weeks of like just straight development work that needs to get done before we can bring on our second phase of alpha customers. So we've got a set of, let's see, we've got 2 alpha customers that are live right now, and then alpha phase 2, we've got 9 more that want to start join, but we need to get a bunch of development work done between now and then. And so I wanted to get that in December. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but right now we're focusing on getting alpha phase 2 out the door by the end of the year so that we can start onboarding folks in January. So this week, I've got a bunch of development work that needs to get done, mostly front end. We've got the API server, which is all in Python, and that's all live and going. But I've got a bunch of front end React work that I need to do, and that's what I'm going to be working on this week.
So you didn't let the whole React licensing thing scare you off? I guess it's solved now.
Yeah, that was never an issue anyways, but that I had companies that were worried about that stuff, and yeah, not at all. And yeah, those kinds of things are, it's like, one, it's great for development, but 2, it's great for collaboration. So getting a framework like that together that lets you modularize your front end development means that you can have 5 people working on stuff instead of just 1, and that's super important as we start growing the team.
Absolutely. I'm kind of a Nazi on that stuff here too. Even on like WordPress builds and stuff, I segment everything, even like our functions PHP file. If you're going to do custom post types, those are going into their own file, and we'll just include it. I don't want this big, long, messy thing. And if you're going to work on something, yeah, we version control, but you know, if you're a developer, you know as well as I do, you get hands in the mix there. Conflicts happen, and I'd rather not resolve conflicts. I'd rather just write code. So, absolutely. Yeah, that React is cool though. It's something I want to look more at in the future, especially like the React Native mobile stuff. I think that's kind of cool. So as a developer, I guess what do you do? You said Python. I'm assuming JavaScript, obviously, probably Node.
So sure. So my background, I originally at Yahoo and at AOL. Well, at AOL I was a front end developer. At Yahoo I was a front end developer, and then I transitioned to an engineering manager. But I do full stack development. So we do some Node, most of the back end of Gigwalk, and all the back end of API Canary is in Python. But because we're serverless, in other words, so the way that API Canary works is that our customers will write production tests in Node, Python, or Go and deploy those into our platform, and then those get executed by us. So like our APIs are all written in Python, but if you want to submit Node.js Canary tests, then we'll go and execute those, and so we have to have some Node code to be able to manage the execution of those.
So you're serverless, I guess. So I guess your number one sort of competitors, quote unquote, would probably be AWS, right? Like that kind of stuff. Or
the way that we work, we sort of sit alongside a New Relic or Pingdom, or
Gotcha.
So in other words, you would be using us where you might be using New Relic to test to make sure that you're not running out of disk space or checking to see whether your API is running slow. You would build custom Canary tests and deploy them to our platform to test your shopping cart flow or your password reset flow, or connect into your database to check to make sure that your search engine index is matching the data that's actually inside of your database. That sort of thing. So kind of think about like what people used to use Nagios for on-prem deployments. You would use API Canary for in cloud deployments to kind of, so it's sort of like canary in a coal mine. If any of the tests that you deploy into our platform fail, then there's something horribly wrong with your production or your staging environment, and you need to go page somebody to go and figure out what.
So you're not even spinning up like virtual servers or anything like that. So you're different than AWS. And on a side note, New Relic, I like those guys because they sent me a free T-shirt one time that said "Nerd Life." So
No, that's cool. We just send my free T-shirts. That's a good idea.
My girlfriend stole it though. I never got to wear it.
Oh man, my wife takes all my swag shirts. Every time we bring stuff home, she takes them. That those is yeah. But right, so we don't right. So they deploy tests to us, and then we will go and execute them on the back end, and we don't talk about how that works. But right now, that's all executing inside of Lambda or on Google Cloud Functions, and then pretty soon we're going to implement Azure and IBM Bluemix, so that we've got coverage across multiple cloud data centers. But right now, we're really focusing on just getting the AWS Lambda deployments working.
Yeah, cool. We probably just bored the shit out of everybody else in here.
Sorry, guys.
All right, let's go to Joe. So Joe and I kind of we're kind of the diehard starters of this. I think last week it was just Joe and me in here.
Yeah, like 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row, I think.
Well, the week before we had a few. We had Ed and
oh no, that's
Ed.
right. You're right. It was just us, and then a couple guys came in, and it was just us again.
Yeah. So I guess hit it, man. Tell us about so last week recap, and then what you've done.
So pain points, right? And where I'm at with that. Yeah. Okay. Well, right, like so I shared my background. I'm doing a startup too. It's not really I don't have venture capitalists or I don't have it's just me and some of the guys I work with. But I'm trying to figure out better ways of new business. I actually made a pretty good list of some of my pain points that I guess I could take a reference to that real quick. And then there was niching down to market to specific niches. And I had done some of that, or at least I had put some serious thought into it. Kind of considering doing the event industry because that's probably where most of my work has been done and where I could probably build the strongest case of that we're good at that and we can show that. And I thought perhaps building some type of custom application that would solve some kind of problem within that niche, maybe it be a booking system or something along those lines, and then selling that as a package deal, something monthly like a retainer to those clients.
Did you ever look in? My concern with that I mentioned last week was the budgets in that in that niche.
I kind of moved on from that for part of that being the reason, but the biggest thing being that I just when I started getting into the keyword research, I just didn't see that there was like any sort of volume for like people looking for that. So I don't know. I've moved around. The other avenue I'd probably take would be the home improvement industry, but I believe that there's probably some solutions already out there for that. However, I've done a lot with that, and I know that they have a big need for lead generation, and so there's a lot of opportunity for upsell there, and if I can either automate that and build them something to do that themselves, or do that as a service myself, I think there's opportunity there and money to be made from there. They definitely have the budget, and I think it could be considerably lucrative.
I think that would be a better niche than the event thing. And yeah, I'm sure there's people out there focusing on that niche already, but find a way to be better.
Sure, yeah.
So let's ask Jarek on that since he's the marketing guru of the group here today. If Joe was your client and he came to you with him wanting to kind of rebrand or refocus his marketing, what would you say to him?
So with any marketing strategy, the first thing you want to talk about is goals, and try to get as specific as you can. It sounds like in your case, you are still kind of in the, defining who your ideal buyer profile is.
Right.
So that's one of the first things we'd want to do is figure out what makes an ideal company. It can be difficult to do that with a startup because there's so many unknowns. There's no historical data. You could do market research, you can do interviews and things like that, but a lot of it is guesswork. Educated guesswork, but it is guesswork. So once you've identified what niches, what types of businesses you want to go after, then you want to figure out who within that business is going to make the ultimate purchase decision to purchase my product, and are there any gatekeepers between me and that person? And so you want to identify who those people are, and then you want to figure out what their pain points are, where they hang out online, just as much as you can learn about them. And then that really should drive your marketing strategy. Your marketing strategy, products, features, and benefits, but figuring out how can you add value and address those people's pain points really. That's when you're talking about content marketing and inbound marketing, it really is, the buyers have all the power these days. So the old method of, being the used car salesman and hounding somebody to death, it turns people off and it drives them away. So you really have to provide value from the gate for free. So that whenever they do need your service, they think, oh, this guy helped me without asking for anything. I can trust him, and I'm going to go for this,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, especially, content marketing, I've had experience doing that with more of an SEO type of approach and like trying to figure out, okay, what the searcher's intent is, what my target audience is searching for, okay, how can I answer that question and become that expert that you talked about, kind of. It's the inbound marketing that I'm just dipping my feet in that, I'm not really sure how to strategize, how to do that. I mean, let's say, right, the home improvement industry, and I know a big pain point is lead generation, and, these guys are looking for work and they want an easy way to get it. How I know that as a web design company or whatever that service would be that I would use to solve that problem. I mean, in an inbound marketing strategy, how would you determine where they live online?
So the way that well, first let me start by saying inbound marketing and content marketing is hard, and especially if you're trying to grow it organically, it certainly takes a lot of time. So you want to supplement that with as many other things as you can. More and more people are doing content marketing today, so it's not like it was 5 years ago where you could kind of just create content and it would gain you some leverage. Right now, your content has to be really good, which is very expensive.
And focused.
Right. So we're the agency I work for. We're a pretty decent sized company, and our clients have huge marketing budgets. So we're able to produce some really good stuff for them because we have writers, we have designers, we have for somebody like you who you're kind of wearing all the hats and having to do it all yourself. You might want to take a step back and just determine, is inbound marketing, content marketing the right play for me? What's my how long am I willing to wait to see results? Because I can tell you, if you're doing it purely organically, and I mean you're putting no money behind promoting your content on social media, Google AdWords, or anything like that, and you're just blogging and you're just creating content and you're just pushing it out organically, you should expect, I would say 18 months, 2 years maybe, before you really start seeing leads rolling in. We've been doing it for many years, pretty much since inbound marketing was a thing. And we get about I don't know, I would say about 10 inbound requests for consult a month. We get hundreds of downloads of our content. I'm sorry, not a month, a week. We get hundreds of downloaded content a week, and then we get about 10 inbound requests for consult a week. But it took us years to get there, and we're not also just doing it organically. So whenever we build strategies for our clients, even though we bill ourselves as an inbound marketing agency, that's not always what we do. It kind of depends on, it just depends on what your goals are, what industry you're in. I have one client in particular that I'm thinking of. They manufacture custom overmolded cables. So the people they're trying to target are engineers and purchasing managers. Extremely niche-y. Plus, engineers just are skeptical people and very unlikely to fill out a form to download a PDF, whatever. So we've really had to do all kinds of different things. Inbound marketing didn't really work for them. We still blog, which I would recommend that everybody blog, and focus on quality over quantity. So even if you're only blogging, once a month, that's fine as long as it's really good. Some of the other things we've been doing lately that might be more up your alley, since you guys are developers, is the way things are going with content marketing is, as I said before, it's a really saturated market. Everybody's doing it. A lot of people have been burned, for lack of a better term, by trading their email address for a PDF that was a piece of shit. And so they're reluctant to do it again. And also, now that more people are accessing the web via mobile devices, nobody's going to download a PDF on their cell phone. So one of the things we've been doing is developing kind of interactive web pages as content pieces. So the page itself is, kind of fancier than a normal scrolling web page. And we've done a couple of different things where you can get so deep into the page before you're thrown a form. And, that's how we gate it. Or we'll leave the whole page open for you to view. All the content's there, everything you want to learn, whether it's, maybe we did a study and there's a bunch of statistics or something, but along the way, we'll offer other types of content that you can download and convert on. So that seems to be working a lot. The other thing that's working, I think, really well with content marketing is paid advertising. So where a lot of people who do paid advertising focus strictly on their business, and here's what we do, here's what we can do for you, here's why you should trust us, here's why you should hire us. Not saying don't run those ads, because you obviously want to have a good mix, but taking that creative content that you produce and then promoting it through paid channels, it lights the fire. Where I said organically you can expect up to 2 years before you're going to see major results. Obviously, if you put money behind it, it's going to happen a lot quicker.
So,
Hey, Matt, real quick before we jump over there, Matt, I'm just kind of curious with you just starting another startup, especially with you being niched really tight to developers and honestly a specific niche of developers, really. How are you tackling this, or what's your plan to tackle this on your side?
So it's a good question. So for the first set, for the first set of customers that we are bringing on, these are all engineering teams for companies that I already know. So like I have a personal network of a whole ton of different startups that are here in the Bay Area because I share investors with them from GigWalk. And so like I speak at developer at CTO summits and stuff like that. And so I'm actually starting a series of CTO dinners here in the Bay Area to just kind of get everybody together talking and whatnot. And then it sort of gives me an excuse to go and sit down with those guys and talk to them about what we're doing and get them signed up to join our beta. But we're not selling yet. Like, in other words, I don't have anybody that's paying me for being on the API Canary platform yet, because we're pre-product, or we're we're pre-beta, so we do have a product, but we're pre-billing anybody for any of the stuff. So it's actually very interesting that we're talking about this now, because it is something that we're going to be thinking about a bit. And I'm actually sort of curious. You were mentioning that paid advertisements were things that you guys were running, and you were seeing that those were working pretty well for getting engineers in the door. Where do those land to? Are those lead forms? Are those blog posts or something like them that then at some point down the line you're asking for information to convert that person into a lead? Like where are those paid advertisements going once you've got them running on Google AdWords or Facebook or whatever?
Yeah, so almost 100% of the time we're going to go to a landing page with all the navigation stripped out. You know, the only way you can get out of it is clicking the logo to come back to the website. You know,
and now you're using HubSpot, I'm assuming, right? You're using HubSpot for a lot of this type of marketing, content marketing stuff.
Platform. By the way, you know, you guys mentioned that you guys do some WordPress stuff. There is a HubSpot free, and their CRM is 100% free. So I would highly recommend. I don't know how much you guys are into marketing automation, but I think HubSpot's probably one of the better ones out there. They definitely have the biggest market. But back to your question, almost always we're going to a gated landing page with pay-per-click advertising. Your landing page strategy is usually a little bit different than, say, a piece of content that you're featuring in your resource library on your website. You know, when people come through PPC, oftentimes they're finding you for the first time, so they've never been to your site. So just having a stripped down landing page with a form and some copy doesn't cut it, because you have to do everything in that one page that you would normally do with your whole website. So, you know, you want to have, usually the way that the format of the page goes is whatever it is you're promoting. So let's say you've got a piece where you're trying to appeal to developers to help them have a better internal process for, you know, I don't know, defining front-end elements, we'll say, right? And how to get the whole team on the same page with that. So maybe you write a guide for, you know, how to define front-end elements for front-end developers or something like that. So the first thing that you're going to want to feature is going to be what's available in this guide. But somewhere else on the page, you know, how you design the page is up to you, but somewhere else on the page, you've got to have some trust symbols, you know, logos of other people you've worked with, other people you've helped, developers who have downloaded the piece, you know, reasons why they should look at you as an authoritative source. And then even, you know, I've even, depending on who the client is and how high the propensity is for the people, for their target personas to download. For instance, engineers, they hate trading their email addresses for stuff. I've even gone as far as to put stuff on the landing page that lets you leave it. So I might even link to the product page or link to the testimonials page or the About Us page. That's not best practice. You know, you really want to try to focus on one goal on that page, which is getting them to convert on that form. But if that's not working and your conversion rates are low, and especially if you're putting paid behind it, you know, you're paying for that, you got to try other stuff. So depending on who the audience is, you might want to put other links in there and let them learn more about you.
So when you talked about propensity, like realizing what maybe the specific industry or the specific type of person will actually engage with the forum, how do you measure that other than like without past experience?
It's really difficult to do without past experience. So, you know, marketing is a science, and just like all sciences, you've got to experiment. So clients hate to hear that, but I always tell them that up front, because I don't want them to think that we've got some kind of magic bullet that suddenly we're going to do something that is so extraordinary that it's going to turn their business around overnight. I've seen it happen, but even when it does happen, I don't take full credit for it, because I didn't know for sure whether it would work or not. You know, in general, I think the people who have the highest propensity to trade contact information for downloading content are the ones who are searching for issues or searching for solutions to their problems the most. So whereas an engineer may be more focused on trying to figure it out themselves, and they may even have some like predisposed notions about how much smarter they are than other people, so they're going to not be on the internet a whole lot looking for solutions to their problems, partially because maybe they're prideful, but also partially because maybe their problem isn't something that's existed before, whereas like somebody in the healthcare industry or somebody in any industry really who's looking to generate leads, that's a universal problem, right? Everybody needs leads for their business. So if you can write content about how how a handyman can generate, new business or keep a full calendar of work or whatever, they're going to be much more likely to download that because that means money in their pocket,
One thing that I've been hearing from other folks that they've been doing is using paid promotion on Facebook or something similar to plug blog posts that they've been writing with useful content, but not actually not having a whole lot of upsell. Maybe they'll have content upgrades or something that's like that on the page, but most of it is around catching that those people going and visiting that page through their Google Pixel or their LinkedIn Pixel or whatever, and then turning around and then remarketing to them with a more targeted landing page. But because they're doing it that way, the CPC is way lower because it's actually a custom audience of people that have already hit their page just by looking at hitting a
brand awareness with that as well, and everything that goes with that, and you've just nicely put yourself as an expert in that topic, which is, there's the benefit of that as well.
Yeah, and I forgot you mentioned that. So, yes, that's something we do also, and that does seem to work really well. Facebook has been by far the best social platform that we found, even though most of our clients are B2B, and they always want us to start with LinkedIn because they think that's where everybody is. The people on LinkedIn are either looking for a job or trying to sell you something. Nobody's there, while they're taking a shit or even on their lunch break everybody's on Facebook, But yes, what you mentioned, linking back to a blog post is a good idea, especially if you're planning to retarget later. But what I would recommend is that every blog post should be tied to a more longer form piece of content. So back to how to develop a content strategy, once you've defined who you're going after, business-wise, persona-wise, what their pain points are, what your content piece is going to be, what you want to do is you want to start with a web page. So a page that's ungated on your site that serves as a piece of content and has some of these same keywords in it. And then from that, you want to create blog posts, other types of downloads, slide shares, presentations, guides, whatever, that have longer tail versions of those keywords that you used on that web page. And you want everything to tie back and forth to each other. So if you create a content piece, or let's just say you have a services page, or or a about us page, or whatever, you're saying this is how we help developers on this web page, right? And then from that page, you might link out to a guide that's helpful to them. And then from that guide, you might link back to that page or link to another relevant blog post that ties into that. And then on that blog post, you want visual and textual CTAs that link to downloadable content. So it's like this network of keywords and content pieces that all tie into each other that help with your organic SEO, but also gives people who land wherever they land, they've always got another path to go down that could eventually lead them to converting on a form.
Okay. Okay. So when you were talking about, you know, after so many years having 10 inbound leads a week, now, um, that I would imagine that's definitely contingent on, you know, the cost of the product and like, because I imagine as your company, your guys are marketing to some pretty high like executive businesses that with a high marketing strategy, and it's a smaller niche with probably a lot higher cost to entry, right? So does that affect how you get leads from industry to industry?
Um, I think a lot of it depends because we don't put prices on our website, which I think is a double-edged sword. Um, because marketing strategy is not something that you want to package, you know, as a one-size-fits-all solution for whoever, whatever, no matter what your industry is. Um, because of that, we don't put prices on.
I don't know that the pricing would be the issue per se, as much as long as you're with your content, you're instilling value. If your content is instilling value to the reader to this, whether or not you're going after $100,000 product or a $10 product, I mean, once they get to that point where whatever stage of that process they get that pricing, if you set the value up for them, the pricing really shouldn't matter, I guess, is my thought.
But at the same time, we don't want to get in a situation where. So the first thing we talk about is, you know, what's your revenue goal for next year? And can you show me your revenue growth over the last year, 2, 3 years, so that I can get some idea of how realistic that is, you know? And if it's completely unrealistic, we don't really want to put ourselves in a situation where we're setting ourselves up for failure because our reputation's on the line, you know? So, you know, it goes back to the whole, like, your marketing budget should be, you know, if you're a company that has pretty good brand equity and a pretty good market position, your marketing budget should be somewhere between 2 and 4% of your projected gross revenue for the next year. If you are a startup or you're looking to really grow or you don't have a good market position or a lot of brand equity, your marketing spend should be somewhere around, you know, 10 to 15% of your projected gross revenue for the next year. Our yearly contracts start at around 115,000. So if we do that math and we say, okay, your projected gross revenue is X, you know, you don't have a lot of brand equity or position in the market, so your marketing budget needs to be 10 to 15% of that, and that either doesn't total up to 100 plus, or you know, because frankly, we don't want to be your whole marketing budget either, you know, because you're going to have to spend money on ads and other things beyond just paying us. So, you know,
So 100 is just what you guys take for your to do it, right?
so most of our clients pay somewhere between 8 to 12,000 a month for what we do, and depending on what we're doing for them, it depends on a couple things. It depends on what we're doing for them, how many things we're doing for them, but it also sometimes depends on what industry they're in and how competitive that is. Like, for instance, we have a lot of clients who are in the medical space. There's a lot of HIPAA compliance that goes on when we write content for them, a lot of legal review, plus the subject matter is extremely complex. So though they pay more because we have to have expert writers. We've got to go through this big, long legal process every time we put out a campaign. So yeah, it fluctuates a little bit, but it's between 8 and 12, 8 and 10 per month.
Well, so hey, Joe, I think you got to take that with what it is too. I mean, with that type of a budget, you're talking about a dedicated team of content, of copywriters, of, you know, the whole shebang. I mean, coming from a point of a single one-man show, um, you know, it's kind of apples and oranges as far as that goes, where he's talking huge enterprise level corporations. You know, you're talking small business right now. That doesn't mean you don't go from here to there, but
Well, and that's kind of
yeah,
why I was saying it might be a good idea to step back and look and evaluate whether something like content marketing is the way to go for you, because it's a huge time investment, you know, and time is money. So it is an expensive way to market to people. It does work, but I think, you know, like you were saying earlier, the best thing you can do is develop what we're doing right now. You know, develop a network, create an event, create a Facebook group specific to that niche. You know, create a Facebook group that says, you know, grow your handyman business or grow your general contractor business, and just throw ideas out there. You know what I mean? I think that's the best way to start. You know, that's, if I ever do branch off and start my own company, I know from experience that's where I'll have to start. There's no way I'll be able to come out doing the things that I do for my clients for myself. You know, it's just unrealistic. You know, but if you ever do get to that point, the value proposition is easy, because all you have to say is, look, you can have an in-house team comprised of a marketing strategist, a content creator, a designer, a videographer, a developer. You can have all these people internally, and let's just say on average you're paying them, I don't know, $70,000 each. You know, easily that's over $1 million a year. Whereas if you hire an agency who does this stuff in their sleep for 125 a year, you do the math. It's easy, but
Yeah.
it does take time to get to that place. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for agencies and for. I really think not just automation, but artificial intelligence is going to really disrupt this industry to the point that guys like me, I don't think will go away. Because I think there'll have to be people who feed the machine, you know. But I think things like I think there will come a day where you'll be able to put in some of those inputs I was talking about. What's my projected gross revenue? What industry am I in? What is my specific goal that I'm trying to achieve? You know, you'll put in all these inputs, and it'll spit a marketing strategy back out at you. I think that's coming within the next 10 years.
Yeah, AI is pretty amazing, especially where it's going.
Well, and that's kind of what's kept me from just jumping in and starting my own business. It's like, you know, is the old agency model old? You know, is it still relevant?
Yeah, I hear you. I do. It's
well,
I mean, wherever I go, I'll pivot and do what I need to do. I'm not, you know what I mean. I don't think that's if that's what's holding you back, man. I mean, I'm doing it like, I mean, if I am like going into any of this stuff and I'm saying like I have to succeed no matter what. I mean, that's a good mindset in a way, but at the same time, like, you'll never actually take any action. You know what I mean? I'll never move forward and take an action.
I've got mouths to feed.
Waiting for the perfect scenario, right?
well,
Because it
as
doesn't
far
exist.
as that stuff goes, Jarek, I mean, if you're really entertaining jumping out on your own, you know, just make damn sure that you're lining up a pipeline full of clients before you make that leap. You know, test the waters a little bit. Maybe start loading up a few just side trial things. I don't know what your non-compete and stuff looks like where you
But I would
work,
say,
but
we were talking about that earlier, and that's the logical first step is just start freelancing. But yeah, I've got a non-compete. My employee service agreement requires that I basically ask permission to moonlight. And I know, well, I've been around at this company long enough to know that what that really means is you're just raising a flag for them to start looking for somebody to replace you.
yeah. That's tough. I mean, I guess you could maybe test the waters a little bit and just gauge a handful of maybe potential down the road clients, and it's tough because you don't want to just quit your job and go start a freaking company and go, okay, now I got to go get some business, right? You
But I
kind of
mean,
want
it
to.
really depends on your level of responsibility. I mean, that's pretty much what I did, but I also have I'm Well, I was at the time I was single. I was living with a couple buddies, and like I had like a $400 rent a month and like the car payment, and like I could do that. I think it really also depends on like whether or not you've got mouths to feed and things along those lines that you have to be responsible for.
Well, I guess let's do this. Let's figure out what each of our goals are for this next week. I guess next week maybe see if we can't actually try to meet some. So, Joe, I guess let's start with you. What's your goal for next week?
I mean, there's a couple things going forward. I mean, obviously, we were on the marketing stuff, so there's a lot in that scope of how I want to reposition myself. I want to go farther into that niche space and see what some of the needs are there, and see if I can find a solution that I can tackle with
Well, I
for
think
that.
that's got to be your number one thing. Just pick a niche and say this is my niche, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I
You
think
can't
that
you can't do anything else until you do that.
I mean, I have business coming in right now. It's not like I'm struggling to a degree, but I just think that for a lot of my other goals too, right? Like wanting to raise my prices, that added value of being a specified niche provider or whatever that's where that's going to come from. And so you're absolutely right. There's a couple other things more on the logistical side, like I want my proposals, my contracts and whatnot to feature upsells. I mentioned that in the comment I left the other day, and be tighter. I don't want to run into half the problems I'm running into, and I feel like a lot of them could be handled by me sprucing that thing up. So I need to do that. I need to get to that, and I haven't been. I've just been putting it off. Yeah,
So
I think those are the two big ones.
I can help there as well. I mean, obviously I can't share what our SOWs look like, but I can certainly, I write SOWs for clients, so I can tell you kind of what we do to solve some of the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you can help me with like maybe a bulleted list of like, make sure you include these things for these reasons, that would work wonders for me. That'd be great. Because I think I sit down and I look at it and I'm just like, what am I forgetting? Like, what am I not doing? And then I'll put myself in a contract with the client, and like a few months down the road, I'm like, I wish I said this, and.
Well, for us, our SOW is just based on experience. Set the damn expectations, and here's what we're going to do, so that we can go back to that SOW when they start wanting more and say, well, sure, we'll do it, but listen, this is what we agreed to. We have to pay more for that.
Right.
This is when you said you were going to have assets to us. This is when blah, blah, blah. It's more, well, it's just as much to hold the client accountable as it is for us. You know what I mean? This is what we're going to do. Anything beyond that is going to be extra. But, I think as far as you're concerned, Joe, for you to move forward, though, everything else is secondary. I think you got to figure out who your market is first. Who are you actually going to market to? And granted, you got work going on right now. It's not like you're starving, but you can't come up with a marketing plan if you don't know who you're going to market to yet. You know what I mean? So that's next week's goal for you, right? You're going to have a niche. It's going to be well defined, well researched. You're going to say these guys have a budget. I've got a plan to be value add for these guys, and this is what we're going to do.
Right. How about you, Spence? What's your goals? What's your plans? I don't think we even hit your pain points.
Got too many. Well, right now, my singular focus, to be honest with you, is I just built this subscription-based HIPAA compliant form plugin that we're going to release both to partners as well as probably to the repo. I got to finish getting this thing QA'd and tested out, and we got one to get on the books immediately for it. But my goal is to get that thing out in the wild into the WordPress repo and start getting some action on that. The secondary goal for that is to get our new website launched that's been in the works for about 10 years, because honestly I can't sell this plugin until it's launched with the new WooCommerce setup and everything in it. So yeah, my pain point is just getting stuff freaking launched and done. My main pain point that is hurting me long term is at the beginning of this year, my goal was to force myself to spend more time focusing on marketing and less time on development, because if we're going to grow, I can't keep doing this market for a couple weeks and then just get slammed with work and just fucking develop for 6 months and not do any marketing and then go, the pipeline's getting thin again. That's the number one goal, I think, for me, is to make myself spend at least an hour a day on marketing, whether it is writing a article, blog post, how-to thing or something to try to get a little SEO juice or something. I don't know, just something. I got to do something.
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to tackle that. That's why we started the group. And again, I've got to get that new website launched in order to do any actual posts, because our current one is just a slap together HTML site. So number one is, I guess, launching a new website, and we have to launch a desktop app for ourselves too that depends on that. So Jarek, how about you? You're kind of in a different spot since you're...
Yeah, honestly, guys, I'm just here to learn and help as much as I can. I mean, I'm just hoping one day I'll hear that nugget that makes me get off my ass and do what I want to do. But I don't have any specific goals.
I guess why do you want to start an agency?
I was an entrepreneur before I even went to college. The only reason I even went to college or started working in the corporate world was because I had kids, and I had to check the boxes that society tells you to check. But I know it's what I'm made to do. I do my best work whenever I'm working.
I get that, man. I do. I can't. I don't passion. I mean, I won't say that. The real passion comes out when I'm working for myself.
Well, and I think the biggest thing for me is I love sales. I love talking to new people, meeting new people. I love developing marketing strategies. But the thing that I do for fun is code. So like I have all these things that I love to do, but when you work at a company, they want you focused. They want you with blinders on doing that one thing that you're hired to do. Mm-hmm. And I get in trouble for it all the time, because it's easier for me to jump in and fix some HTML, CSS, or whatever than to pass it off to a developer and wait a week to get it back to the client. Little things like that. So not that I want to be a one-man shop doing everything. I'm so interested in all of the things that we all do that it's difficult. I get bored just doing one thing.
Yeah, I can actually relate to that, man, because when I was in one of the bigger agencies I worked at, it was, when you get to that size and you're working with a company that size, the siloedness of things becomes unavoidable, even no matter how they set up their structure, really, and you're sitting there and you're frustrated because everything takes 10 times longer to get done. Yeah, I think the best agency experience that I had as far as enjoyment, anyways. Maybe not from what I learned, but as far as enjoyment, was a small 8-person agency. It was my first agency job I ever worked at, and it was just everyone had one job, and but we all like collaborated, but we were all like responsible for one thing. People like picked up each other's stuff, and you know what? We probably got stuff out of the door there faster than any of the bigger companies I've worked at. It was interesting.
All right. Well, I think I got to run, guys. So.
Yeah, me too. I got some stuff to finish up.
Well, hey, it was good meeting you, Jarek. Hopefully, you become a regular. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think what would help grow this a little bit is if we, and I think we were kind of talking about this today, but let's actually, come up with a topic or 3, and let that be known as in the meeting title. Like today, we're going to talk about proposals, or today we're going to talk about marketing, or whatever it is, and then people can choose, whether they want to join or not based on what their pain points are. I mean, I think it worked really well, but I think eventually, if we get enough people in here doing it like we're doing it now, could probably get.
Yeah, it is vague. Just having the title "Weekly Video Meeting," it almost sounds like a club you got to be a part of.
Well, it's kind of a work in progress. I figured we'll let it become what it needs to become. So, I have I'm not locked into anything for this. It just seemed like, basically, Jarek, I took this idea out of a playbook from this U-Gurus company, which acts like a boot camp training thing for like people, for web agencies and stuff like that. And one of the things in our program is they have a weekly video meeting with everybody in the program to just kind of hold each other accountable and go over what they're going to do and stuff. So that was the really loose idea of this. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to do topics, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can just play around and test and see what the hell works best for us. What's most accountable?
Well, what do you think the topic should be?
Some type of review, though, did you meet your goals? Why not? What the hell are you doing otherwise? Is it that important? That was something that was really attractive to me when we talked about having that. And I like that because I can get stuck in just like working on, projects or something, and similar to what you were talking about with your marketing, right? Like, I just get stuck in coding. Really, I just want to code, and I really should pull the wheels back and remember what my priorities are.
Yeah, this is Matt. I think that was something I thought was particularly cool about this. There was a big thread on Hacker News a couple of weeks ago about having some substitute for a daily stand-up or something like it for people that are solar entrepreneurs or people that are working from home and whatever, is having a group that will hold you accountable that you can just join and connect with once in a while. Having this on a Friday, saying oh shit, I got to get this stuff done because I got to tell the guys I got this thing. Exactly. I said I was going to get it done or not. That's pretty cool. I kind of like that personally.
Actually, I think did we skip you, Matt? I thought you left there for a second.
No, I just sorry, dudes. My house is a wreck. I'm wandering around. I just turned my camera on. Anyway.
So, yeah, I guess so. I guess tell us what do you want? What's your goal for next week? I guess.
Oh, well, I think I had mentioned I had a bunch of development work that needed to get done. I've got to probably by the end of next week, by next Friday, I got to have the website. The whole React framework done. I got to have it deployed to the new environment, and all the authentication stuff complete. I think I need to. That's my goal by Friday, is having all that those pieces hooked in. So then it's just product content on the inside that needs to get done. So that's what I'm going to get done by Friday.
Okay. So when we meet next Friday, you're going to say, "Yep, done."
Damn, hope so.
All right, and then so we don't have to get. I think that we can have topics and have that by coming prepared with what our next steps are to the next week as well, so that we can start with where we were last week. Did we meet our goals? Why not? Okay, let's move on to the topic, and then, all right, what's our goals for next week? And maintain that accountability, but also have, kind of, because it kind of adds a strategy to get this to become something that, grows a little bit. Because you're gonna offer some interest that people may have,
Well, and I think maybe my suggestion was a little selfish, just because I'm in a different space than you guys are. So, like for me, if I knew that we were going to, for instance, talk about how to set up or strategies for building a referral campaign, something that specific, I could kind of prepare myself a little bit more to be more valuable to the conversation than just,
Well,
But
I don't see why we can't do both, right? We could split the meeting to where we have a topic where somebody discusses. I mean, just like any other. Let's say it's like a meetup where we have somebody that's going to give a little presentation or something. Like, Jared can do something on content marketing, or we can do something on development side, building WordPress plugins or something. Matt can talk about, hey, here's how you get $1 million seed round.
let's start with that one.
Yeah, let's start with that one for sure.
Let's do that one tomorrow.
But yeah, I think we can do both. Let's think on this a little bit on how we can structure this. The idea was to keep these somewhere around an hour. They tend to not stay there. They tend to go long, which I don't care, but I think we need to try to figure out a structure on how we can do, a 30-minute presentation side, and then how can we do like a stand-up meeting, go around the board and say, here's my goals from last week, here's what I did, here's my goals for next week. It has to be super kind of focused. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential with this thing if we can do it right and pull it off. So.
Well, sure. I mean, even it's just since I've been in, I think it really helps. I mean, one of the biggest things that I struggle with, like generally as an entrepreneur, is I think about 900 things that I need to have done, and I don't focus them into like what my next steps are. And I end up having a little bit going on here and a little bit going on here, and usually, like, what it ends up happening is I'm like, okay, now I really need to get this done, and I'll stay up for like a day and a half doing it, or whatever happens, and it's good to be focused, and I think the accountability is going to provide me with that, because the only one I have to yell at me right now is me, and that's, I don't know, it's never been enough. I need more, and so that's something I think that's gonna be really helpful with.
Well, if you come to the meeting next Friday and you don't have a defined niche that's well thought out with a good budget and a plan to hit it, then we're all gonna laugh at you.
I love it. All right, cool.
All right, guys, I'm gonna bounce out of here.
Right, nice to meet you, man.
I'll get the recording up here in the next day or two, also. So.
Cool.
That's good. So is it always this time on Friday? Is that what you guys are planning?
Yep.
2:00 EST.
Right on.
All right. You guys have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.